All right, folks, in today's video, we are talking about the $30,000 Federal Reserve XRP buyback being unveiled for Eleanor Terret, Fox Business, and we'll see how much more traction we can get as this is a story that is coming back around. We're going to explain the full breakdown, the timeline of events that is leading up to this. And before I do, I just want to say thank you for putting up with the lighting, the audio. We're here on vacation. I haven't dropped my location just quite yet. I will here soon. But keeping the location on the DL, setting myself up here in the Airbnb that we're staying at. So my apologies for the quality. Hopefully it's good enough. And hopefully, the content here that we're going to be putting into this video will explain why we started to have this conversation well over a couple years ago now with the Federal Reserve buyback of XRP. And everybody's hung up on the price. And we're going to talk about why so many people have been misguided or confused about what this conversation was even supposed to be about. So hopefully you guys appreciate this video. Also, I wanted to tell everyone that we are going to be having our Discord weekly call tomorrow morning, every Saturday in our private group, the Discord. We have a Saturday weekly call tomorrow. We're going to be having a special class on off-ramping using exchanges. Hopefully, eventually this XRP will go into price discovery. And so just showing folks the basics, crypto 101, how to move crypto from wallets back to exchanges, set those sell orders so that you can effectively execute your exit strategy when that time does come, God willing. But let's talk about it, folks. So huge shout out to Eleanor Terret for being one of the few journalists in mainstream media to even cover the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. That right there in and of itself is a big deal. She's been one of the best journalists, I think, in the space, especially from the mainstream media outlets, Fox Businesses, where she's at. And I love the back and forth, the good cop, bad cop between her and Charlie Gasparino. Charlie has been clowning the XRP community. He's clowning us because we're still at 59 cents for XRP, or I haven't checked the price today while I'm on vacation with the family. But Charlie's making fun of us, right? He's the bad cop. Eleanor Terret's the good cop. She's actually working with us. She actually came out to XRP Vegas. I didn't get a chance to meet her out there. But I did just want to pay my respects to Eleanor, Charlie and Fox Business for what they have been doing. At least Charlie's been talking about it. He's been a hater, but that's fine. I know that the XRP community brings content. It brings views for Fox, and they desperately need that. So that's good. I do think that it is time to get a red folder, though, unveil the red folder for Eleanor Terret. She's going to need one because, as we've exposed, the damages are massive. This story goes very deep. I interviewed Jimmy actually about a year ago. We just came up on the 1-year anniversary of the historical interview, a great conversation with Jimmy Valley about what this whole thing was about. So if you guys missed that, it's in my interviews playlist on my channel. You guys can go back and watch that if you want to get up to speed on the conversation that I had with Jimmy Valley about this whole XRP buyback with the Federal Reserve. You guys have seen it. I've made lots of videos. I don't shy away from this. It's kind of, hasn't been the topic of discussion as of late, but now it's getting brought back up again. And so I want to talk about how this whole thing got started. So I got my tweets saved right here, and I'm going to share this with you guys real quick. So we're talking about how this got started. The first thing happened here was that Jimmy Valley, the lawyer, on behalf of everybody in the XRP community who wants to, hear someone put up a fight on behalf of us, Jimmy Valley stepped up to the plate, and he was the one that really got this whole thing together and put it all together for us and got it going. Just about a day ago, he put out a tweet where he tags Steven Narioff, the Ethereum whistleblower. And you guys know that Ethereum whistleblower Steven Narioff, his story is an absolute bombshell. Nobody wants to cover it. But Jimmy Valley tags Steven, and he asked Eleanor Terret, tags Fox Business, and asked if they are going to take up Steven Narioff on his offer to come explain what happened with the DAO hack and ETHgate and Steven Narioff's case, which isn't related to XRP, but he understands the bureaucracy beast agency, the 3-letter agency SEC that we're up against, and how big the damages are. He had a lot of damages done to himself and his reputation by the government with the Department of Justice, FBI, and the SEC all going after him in collusion to frame Steven Narioff for a crime that he didn't even do. You guys know that's a separate story. We're one of the few outlets that's actually willing to cover that. But now it looks like Eleanor Terret does want to research it, because what happened was Digital Asset Investor retweeted Jimmy Valley's original tweet, And he said, great question, Stephen Arioff. I can't imagine they wouldn't want the scoop on the DAO being an inside job by the Ethereum Foundation, as you seem to be saying. This is a bombshell for all of crypto, right? And Eleanor Terret responds and she says, the DAO hack and ETHgate are on my list of potential fraud stories to look into this year, as well as a couple of others, including a 30,000 per token Federal Reserve buyback for an asset that's currently trading at 59 cents. Now, the way that she framed that, it was kind of like, she's including it with the fraud stories, right? The fraud stories of the DAO hack and ETHgate, which if she's willing to just expose that, that's awesome. That's much better than any mainstream journalist is doing. But now she's interested in the buyback and the Federal Reserve, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000. Everybody's throwing out their prices. How big are the damages? I've been saying massive, right, this whole time. And so the way that she framed it, I don't know if she really meant to say that that's a fraud case per se, that people saying that the Fed's going to buy it back at 30,000 is a fraud case. That's the initial reaction, though, of many people that hear it. You look at a 60-cent token and they think, what are these guys smoking? Thinking that they're going to get 30,000 for their XRP. Well, let's go back. Let's go back to the basics on why this whole conversation started. First off, in regards to price, it was never about the price so much as it was about a conversation of fair market value. And the distinguishing factor between the two is very important. The term fair market value is intentionally distinct from similar terms such as market value or appraised value because it considers the economic principles of free and open market activity. Do we have free and open market activity with the SEC regulating or trying to regulate through enforcement digital assets? And as we've talked about the overall corruption of our capital markets, are we operating in a free and open market? You have to ask yourself that, because to come up for a fair market value of XRP, you need to be able to understand all the factors. Now, I would say that we're kind of left out of the picture for XRP just because we don't know all of the deals that Ripple's done. As was highlighted in the case with the SEC versus Ripple, there was 1,700 contracts to distribute XRP that were cited by the experts in that case. We have no idea. Was it deals like R3 that wanted to buy 5 billion XRP? Is it deals with other banks like partners like Bank of America, PNC Bank, you name it? Now we have 500 banks with Ripple. We don't know what those deals are. So just right there alone, we're kind of left out of the scoop. We're kind of left out of the loop on that. So, just based off of that fact, we're kind of left out of some of the information. But as far as the damages and where it gets really corrupt, and we're not owed that, by the way. Let me be very clear. We're not owed that by Ripple. There's a reason why there's NDAs. And by the time it does get unveiled, all of the partnerships and all of the pre-allocation with Ripple, I think we're going to be a little bit higher than a 60-cent XRP. But that's, we're not owed that by Ripple. That's fine. That's understandable. Where the real corruption comes in is the free and open market with the SEC, who's been regulating through enforcement, going after everybody who's legit, but then they've allowed the DAO hack, they've allowed ETHgate, they've allowed the token factory that was created from Ethereum to run free, to run rampant. And what's going to be interesting to see is how far Eleanor Terret is able to go with her research, because we know that Charlie Gasparino is best buds with Wall Street, right? And we know that JP Morgan was one of the biggest investors in Consensus. We know the company Wang Sheng was in on Ethereum very early as well. And so we have the disguised whales. Some are Chinese, some are Wang Sheng, some are JP Morgan, some are all the shady activity that was basically going on with Joseph Lubin. He was the main proponent of the fraud and the corruption and the whole scheme. Vitalik Buterin was just kind of the pawn. He was the smart kid, the developer genius who put the tech together. Joseph Lubin is the scumbag that really just doesn't care about creating real utility. This is what Stephen Arioff said. This isn't my words. This is Stephen Arioff who explained that he approached Vitalik, he approached Joseph Lubin and said, guys, what you're creating is a security. What you're creating is going to be a problem here unless you do it this way. And they got legal opinions that said, if you do the ICO this way, if you conduct yourself, if you, what did they have to, they needed to create more tokens and distribute them. Another 60 million tokens needed to be created and distributed. something like that. You guys get the point. They didn't follow that legal memo. And so they blatantly knew they were breaking the law, but why didn't they care? Because Joseph Lubin had the note in his pocket, right? And they had Billy Boy Hinman, who was going to go take the stand and say that Ethereum was not a security. So it's going to be interesting to see how far Eleanor Terret's able to go with the ETHgate and with the DAO hack. I suspect that they're going to let her expose the DAO hack because that's what the mainstream, that's what the banker elites love, is that crypto's fraud. It's hackers, it's not safe. Meanwhile, JP Morgan and all the boys are loading up. And if you've seen with all of the Bitcoin spot ETFs, JP Morgan is set to be one of the biggest authorized participants in all of this. And so bringing it back to free and open market. We're not operating in a free and open market. Me and you are Joe Blows just trying to invest and make a little something for our families. We don't have the inside scoop. We didn't know that Billy Boy Hinman was going to go to the stand and say that Ethereum was good to go and allow tens of thousands of tokens to be created on top of Ethereum. My little temporary light went out there. Hopefully I'm not losing too much battery. I better wrap this video up quick here. But here's what I wanted to share with you guys. There's a couple more tweets from Jimmy Valley. I'm out of battery light. Let me come back after I get my light back on. All right, we're back. I better make this quick before my light dies on me again. But we were talking about price versus fair market value. Big distinction to be made there. The second part is the Federal Reserve buying it back. The reason why it was sent to the Federal Reserve, it was sent to the IMF, this whole proposal, was to really expose the central bankers, the elite that control our monetary policy, that control our money and our whole system from the top down. And that's not how it's supposed to be. So that's the reason why we came up with the price, is because there's a difference between the price and fair market value. The damages are also massive. And then we sent it to the Federal Reserve and the IMF and all these entities to really expose the power structure and the powers that be, the whole reason why we're in this problem. And then the last part is the damages, right? And that would be, Eleanor Terret saying the $30,000 buyback for a coin that's trading at 59 cents. Well, from all of our analysis, we can see that from a very conservative perspective, if XRP hadn't been involved in this SEC versus Ripple lawsuit, it easily would have achieved 2 to 3x what it did the last bull run. And so what we're talking about specifically here, this tweet from Jimmy Valley, XRP would have done the same during the 2021 bull run, but for the actions taken above. And he's highlighting the SEC's actions against Ripple. He says that puts the minimum damages at between $11.50 and $12 per XRP, less whatever was obtained in the market for any XRP that was sold since the SEC lawsuit. Well, I'm actually going to be dropping a separate video going more in depth on this. And the title of that video is XRP Damages Worth $500 billion. Because when you take a look at the market cap, at the time in 2021, when XRP went up to that all-time high, give or take, it was about 45 billion XRP in circulation. You guys can fact check me on that, but you get the point. So what I did is I did a rough estimate of what does that market cap equal back when we had 45 billion in circulating, and the price would have been at 11.50 or $12 per XRP. And that takes us to about 500 billion in a market cap. It's actually a little bit more. So between the 200 million that Ripple has fought, Ripple has spent 200 million in legal fees fighting the SEC. We would have achieved probably, at least on a conservative basis, a $500 billion market cap, and we're now sitting at what, 40 billion? So massive, massive damages. And then on top of that, Jimmy adds our damages assessment for coordinated market manipulation, racketeering, fraud, and conspiracy to commit fraud. Each of Bitcoin and ETH 3x their previous all-time high from 2017 to 2018 bull run. It's been proven that XRP trades consistent with the broader market. So we're talking conservative, right? Every other coin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, did a 3x from the 2017-2018 bull run. If XRP would have done the same, you do the math, the damages are massive, right? Hundreds of billions of dollars worth of potential market cap that we didn't achieve. Now, also you need to add in what Ripple's been doing and trying to do with their business deals with banks and institutions. And some of those deals have been put on pause. Some of those deals have been completely abandoned, right? And that's all part of the damages that we're talking about. So I believe that the damages are well between 500 billion and well could go over 1 trillion. But then I added my tweet, I added my thoughts, and this is very important. I said the damages are massive to the XRP community, but even bigger when we look at the complete corruption throughout our capital markets. We used to have the gold standard of capital markets and currency. Now the US leads in regulatory capture and corruption. And we're about to be destroying we've already destroyed about 99% of our dollar in the last 100 years since the Federal Reserve was incepted, i.e., why we're sending this proposal to the Federal Reserve to say, we know who you are, we know what you've done. You, in tandem with the SEC and this whole bureaucracy beast and this DC corporation that has hijacked our country, are our enemy. You are the enemy. And that's why we're exposing you through this whole proposal. Now, I added that I look forward to Eleanor Terret and Steven Narioff getting together to help expose this all. From the Dow hack to ETHgate, let's talk about the 30,000 Federal Reserve buyback and what it's actually about, which is the damages by the SEC, the other three-letter agencies, the Federal Reserve, this whole DC corporation, this whole entity, the bureaucracy beast that came after us. Okay, they came after us. We had to put up a defense. And what do you do in the art of the deal, any sort of negotiations? What do? You always start high, which is why the numbers came out. We got experts to come on in. We had experts in tech. We had experts in valuation models, experts in M&A, acquisition deals, right? Who were able to put together these different models and say, this isn't a price prediction on where XRP is going. This is just a hypothetical. We're theorizing on where XRP could go eventually if everything was fair and equal and XRP got to actually build out, what it's trying to do, with Ripple, with retail, with everybody who's invested into this ecosystem, where it could go based off of all these factors. That would be the fair market value of XRP. And obviously, it's just like every other lawsuit where, someone gets, in an accident, they sue for $1 million and they end up settling for 100,000, right? You start up high, you work your way back. And so when we go to the table and we say, hey, we see the Federal Reserve, we see the SEC, we see the other three other agencies that have came together to create this real entity in DC, this bureaucracy beast that has a stranglehold on American capitalists, that is holding back American capital markets. It's wrong. It's corrupt as heck. And we need to get to the bottom of it. That's what the whole conversation was about. And the haters came out of the woodworks. All these people that don't understand it are coming out and they wanted to criticize us instead of pulling up and having an adult conversation. It really wasn't about 30K. It wasn't about 50K. It never was about an actual buyback. What it was putting up a claim. And if you understand Article 12 of the UCC, the take free rule, then you would understand why we're doing that. Because in the laws that they're now adding to the UCC 4, certified controllable electronic records is what they're called, then you would understand the legal basis that we have. And remember, I'm not a lawyer. This is why I get Jimmy on my show. This is why I get Steven Narioff to pull up in the spaces, and we got to pick into his story a little bit as well. And I'm so excited that maybe we're going to get coverage here from Eleanor Terret. Huge shout out to Eleanor. And I'm really looking forward to what 2024 is going to bring. For us, it is about matching the energy of the enemy. See, they want to execute on their agenda. It's time for us to step up and say, well, hey, you're going to have to put up a little bit better of a fight because we know your moves. We know you're willing to play dirty. And we have the facts and the truth on our side. And we've done, so much work from the sleuths. We've put together this whole picture. Our timeline's never been in dispute. A huge shout. I could go through the list of John Deaton. I could go through all the sleuths. I could go through everyone. This fight is not over. And you have to understand that XRP is still at a suppressed price today because this lawsuit continues. We're still not out into the clear completely. And so the damages are massive. It's much bigger than what's been done to the XRP community. And that's the conversation that we're trying to have. And we also want to have the most in-depth conversation about the fair market value of XRP and talk about the utility that is being built out utilizing this ledger and how massive it could be. It's an amazing time to be alive here in 2024. We're going to match their energy. Huge shout out to Eleanor Terret. My light just died out again, so that's my cue to wrap up this video. I appreciate everyone for hanging out with me. If you appreciate this update, make sure you like this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we will see you guys in the next one. God bless you all.